Good evening and welcome to News Tonight on Rajya Sabha TV. I'm Tina Jha with a roundup of all important news stories from across India and the world. But before we go over to the headlines, Rajya Sabha TV appeals to all its viewers to stay safe from the COVID-19 pandemic. Wear face masks, wash your hands and face regularly, and maintain physical distancing while stepping outside. Remember, these simple precautions are all that it takes to defeat the pandemic. And now, let's get you the headlines. Pulwama terror attack took place under Imran Khan's leadership, admits Pakistani Minister Fawad Chaudhry. India seeks action, asserts FATF must blacklist Pakistan. Union Cabinet hikes price of ethanol, move aimed at increasing farmers' incomes. Packing of food grains in jute sacks made compulsory. Maintenance plan for 736 dams in 19 states also approved. Despite coronavirus pandemic, goal of $5 trillion economy achievable by 2024. Prime Minister Modi says economy fast returning on track, assures that all Indians will get COVID-19 vaccine. With over 10 lakh tests daily, COVID-19 tests crossed 1 crore over the last 9 days. Both new and active cases maintain decreasing trend. And Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu underscores need to balance environment and development needs, suggests promotion of eco-friendly buildings and low-carbon emission technologies. The top story tonight. India has reacted sharply to Pakistan minister's admission of his country's role in the Pulwama terror attack, demanding strict action against the country for sponsoring cross-border terrorism. Calling Pakistan a terrorist state, Union Minister V.K. Singh has called for Pakistan's blacklisting at the FATF. He also said that nations should come together to impose sanctions on Pakistan. Heating out at Islamabad, the Ministry of External Affairs has said that the whole world knows about Pakistan's role in supporting terrorism and no amount of denial can hide this truth. India's reaction comes after Pakistan Minister Fawad Chaudhry said in their National Assembly that Pulwama attack was a success of the Imran Khan government.
पाकिस्तान के उन मंत्री का धन्यवाद देता हूं कि जिस बात को अब तक नहीं कबूल रहे थे उन्होंने कबूल ली। आतंकवादी घटना कराना अगर बहुत बड़ी कामयाबी मानी जाती है या अचीवमेंट माना जाता है सरकार का, तो सिर्फ एक ही चीज दिखाता है कि पाकिस्तान एक आतंकवादी देश है। जितना इसके ऊपर दुनिया अलग अलग प्रतिबंध लगाए उतना ज्यादा अच्छा है। ये जब कबूलनामा आया है तो मुझे पूरी उम्मीद है कि हम इस चीज को लेकर बताएंगे कि FATF के अंदर बिल्कुल उसको ब्लैकलिस्ट करना चाहिए। अभी वो ग्रे लिस्ट में, पर इसको ब्लैकलिस्ट करना चाहिए। इसको कोई किसी भी तरह की मदद कहीं से ना मिले।
The whole world knows the truth about Pakistan's role in supporting terrorism. No amount of denial can hide this truth. Even their own leaders have time and again spoken about their role with regard to terrorism. The country which provides shelter to the maximum number of UN proscribed terrorists should not even attempt to play victim.
And India on Thursday said changes made in the land laws in Jammu and Kashmir was done keeping in mind the interests of local people. Briefing the media, External Affairs Ministry spokesperson Anurag Srivastav said Pakistan or any other country has no locus standi to comment on the internal affairs of India.
The government has taken a number of measures in recent times for socio-economic development and for improvement of livelihood in the Union Territory of J&K, which is an integral part of India. Therefore, These decisions relate to internal affairs of India, and no country has a locus standi to comment on this.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi is confident that India can still achieve $5 trillion economy target by the year 2024, despite the hurdles caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. In an interview to English daily The Economic Times after the COVID-19 outbreak, he said India is putting a brave fight against COVID-19 and has managed to contain the spread of the disease. He also listed key economic parameters that indicate recovery in India's economic growth.
India's economy is on the road to recovery, and many indicators point to this. In an interview to an English daily, Prime Minister Narendra Modi said, farmers have had record production and the government has undertaken record procurement at the highest levels of MSP. These two factors are expected to inject significant income in the rural economy, which will lead to demand generation. Record high FDI inflows also indicate India's growing image as an investor-friendly country. This year, despite the pandemic, India received the highest ever FDI of $35.73 billion from April to August. This is 13% higher than the same period last year. Steady recovery in the manufacturing sector has helped India climb 2 notches to the 3rd position among key emerging markets after China and Brazil in September. Auto sales are also surpassing previous year levels, indicating strong resurgence in demand. The Prime Minister said strong foundations have been laid to make India the foremost manufacturing destination. Reform measures like corporate tax cut, commercial mining in coal sector, opening up of space sector for private investment, and lifting defense restrictions on air routes for civil aviation use, among others, are some steps that will go a long way in boosting growth. According to credit rating agency Moody's, 154 greenfield projects from the US have come to India in 2020, compared to 86 in China, 12 in Vietnam, and 15 in Malaysia, indicating global confidence in India's growth story. The Prime Minister further expressed confidence that recent labour reforms will help create significant employment, protect workers by ensuring minimum wage reforms, provision for social security for workers in the informal sector, and minimizing government interference. According to the Prime Minister, these factors will help India achieve the $5 trillion economy target by 2024 despite COVID-19. He also assured each and every Indian will be vaccinated for COVID-19 when a vaccine becomes available. A national expert group on vaccine administration for COVID-19 has been constituted to chart the way forward. He said India has taken a science-driven approach in response to the COVID-19 pandemic, which has proved beneficial. India has high recovery rate and one of the lowest mortality rates against COVID-19 globally. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha Television.
The Union Cabinet, chaired by Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Thursday, took several key decisions, including raising the price of ethanol by 5 to 8%, besides extending the norms for mandatory packaging of food grains in jute materials. More details in this report. The Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs on Thursday hiked the price of ethanol extracted from sugarcane for doping in petrol by 5 to 8%. Briefing the media, Information and Broadcasting Minister Prakash Javadekar said, the move will help farmers get a remunerative price while also cutting down oil imports. India, which is 85% dependent on imports to meet its oil needs, allows doping of up to 10% ethanol in petrol with a view to cutting oil import and vehicular emissions.
शुगर जूस से जो इथेनॉल बनता है उसमें 3.25 रुपए बढ़ोतरी हुई है। बी हेवी से जो इथेनॉल बनता है उसमें 3 रुपए 35 पैसे बढ़ोतरी की है इस साल, और सी हेवी जो है उसमें 2 रुपए की बढ़ोतरी की है।
In order to help the jute industry, the government has decided that 100% food grains and 20% sugar will be packed in jute bags. The decision will benefit 4 lakh workers in the jute sector along with thousands of farmers.
100% खाद्यान्न के लिए पूरी बैगे जूट की आएगी और शक्कर के लिए 20% शक्कर जूट के बैग में पैक होगी। इससे जूट के खेती को, जूट के उद्योग को बढ़ावा मिलेगा।
The cabinet also approved maintenance and improvement of 736 dams in 19 states in the next 10 years. Jal Shakti Minister Gajendra Singh Shekhawat said, Phases 2 and 3 of the dam rehabilitation and improvement program will be completed at a cost of 10,211 crore rupees. India has the third largest number of dams in the world after China and the US.
10,211 करोड़ रुपए की ये परियोजना 2 चरणों में होगी और इसका 80% अंशदान जो है वो वर्ल्ड बैंक और वर्ल्ड बैंक के साथ साथ में एशियन इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर इंप्रूवमेंट बैंक के माध्यम से आएगा.
In other decisions, the government approved the signing of a MOU between India and Cambodia for cooperation in the field of health and medicine. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV. The centre has brought in an ordinance to deal with rising pollution levels in Delhi and the National Capital Region. The ordinance was signed by President Ramnath Kovind on Wednesday. The ordinance makes pollution an offence with a jail term up to 5 years and a penalty up to 1 crore rupees. Under the ordinance released by the Ministry of Law and Justice on Thursday, the Environment Pollution Prevention and Control Authority has been dissolved. It will be replaced with a commission comprising over 20 members. The commission will be headed by a full-time chairperson of secretary rank or chief secretary rank bureaucrat. It will comprise of 5 state secretary-level members from Delhi, Punjab, Haryana, Rajasthan, as well as Uttar Pradesh, along with a representative of the Environment Secretary. The commission will also include experts and will have 3 subcommittees, 1 each for monitoring and identification, safeguarding and enforcement, and research and development. Besides, the commission will also have the power to take mitigation measures, issue directions and orders suo motu, and entertain complaints under any other existing laws, such as the Air Prevention and Control of Pollution Act 1981 and the Environment Protection Act 1986. It is also empowered to prohibit activities that are likely to cause or increase air pollution in the NCR and adjoining areas. Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu on Thursday said that it is time to consider making all new buildings to mandatorily go green and environment friendly. Inaugurating the CII's Green Building Congress 2020 virtually, the Vice President emphasized that not only new buildings, but the existing buildings too should be retrofitted to make them environment friendly by adopting green practices that promote energy efficiency and water conservation. The Vice President also suggested to the governments, finance commissions and local bodies to encourage green buildings by way of tax incentives and various other measures.
The need of the hour is accelerate the process of total decarbonization of the built environment. Perhaps the time has come to seriously consider we have to make it mandatory for every new building, government or private, to go green, be it for office, hospital, education, entertainment, hotel, home, all this. Not only new buildings, the existing buildings need to have to be retrofitted to make them environment friendly by adopting green practices that promote energy efficiency and water conservation.
Drawing attention to the increasing number of extreme climate events such as droughts, floods, wildfires, etc., Vice President Naidu said that climate change is as real as daylight and countries all across the world must adopt drastic and revolutionary measures to mitigate the problem of global warming. The Vice President also highlighted the need to create awareness on the urgency of promoting green buildings concept among people.
And how do you marry both development and environment? They are not contradictory. They can go together, provided if you properly educate the people and people are motivated and then move forward. That's why I always say, remember your culture. Nature, culture, together for better future. The civic community has to be educated. You make any number of regulations, rules, unless the people cooperate, you cannot operate it effectively.
Foreign Secretary Harshvardhan Shringla embarked on a visit to 3 European countries on Thursday. The visit is aimed at forming a shared strategy about the future world amidst tensions with China and the devastating impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. Foreign Secretary Harshvardhan Shringla arrived in Paris on a week-long visit to European countries. He will travel to Berlin and London next. He is expected to hold talks with leaders of France, Germany and the UK on issues including climate change, 5G, supply chain and United Nations.
As regards the context of the visit, this is part of our continuing outreach despite the COVID-19 pandemic. You would know that all these 3 countries, we share democratic values with them. They are commonality of interests. They are our strategic partners. We have a multidimensional bilateral relationship with them.
Shringla is also meeting with citizen groups and eminent persons of these countries. Coming amidst the pandemic, the Foreign Secretary's visit underscores the significance of these countries for India with regard to China as well.
All these 3 countries are India's strategic partners. We have very strong trade and investment ties with all of them. With the purchase of Rafale jets, our military ties have become stronger, and there is also a significant diaspora in these countries. Now, post-Brexit, now Britain is realigning its political, strategic and economic ties. Although Europeans have very strong economic linkages with China, but with asserting China, including Hong Kong's security law, I think these countries are now concerned about China's behavior.
Stability in the Indo-Pacific region is one of the shared concerns of these 3 countries and India. So are development and cooperation in the post-COVID-19 period. Shringla's talks with leaders of the 4 countries are expected to feature vaccine development and distribution.
Convergence of understanding between India and the 3 major democracies of the world is quite important in post-pandemic period. It is important to create more manufacturing hubs in the world and also to decentralize the supply chain of the globe. It will be interesting to see that how they create a roadmap so that these objectives can be obtained. Akhilesh Suman for Rajya Sabha Television in Delhi.
We'll slip into a very short break here, but more news and updates will continue on the other side. Do stay with us.
Watch The Big Picture with me, Frank Rausen Pereira, at 9:30 p.m.
Defeat coronavirus. Let us always remember, wear a mask, wash hands, follow physical distancing. Together, we'll succeed. Together, we'll win against COVID-19.
Welcome back. Time now for the latest COVID-19 situation in the country. Daily cases of coronavirus in India continue to be on the decline. Here's a detailed report. India in the last 24 hours reported 49,881 new cases. The latest increase took total number of infections in the country past 80 lakh. But active cases that make the actual coronavirus caseload are steady with a little over 6 lakh cases. Active cases make up only 7.51% of the total positive cases. The slower pace of daily infections and an improved recovery rate have led to a decline in the number of active cases. Total recovered cases crossed 73,15,000 and the gap between recovered cases and active cases has crossed 67,12,000. The death toll climbed up to 1,20,527, with the novel coronavirus claiming 517 lives in the last 24 hours. With 10,75,760 tests in the last 24 hours, the cumulative tests have crossed 10 crore 65 lakh. India conducted around 1 crore tests in the last 9 days. For the past 6 weeks, the country is testing nearly 11 lakh samples daily on an average. Widespread testing on a sustained basis has brought down positivity rate, which is the total number of people who have tested positive. Cumulative positivity rate touched 7.54% as compared to 7.81% last week. Delhi on Wednesday reported over 5,600 COVID-19 cases in a day for the first time. The national capital is reporting over 4,000 cases daily for the last few days. The state government has attributed the increase in cases to the change in testing strategy. Kerala, Maharashtra, Delhi, West Bengal and Karnataka reported the biggest 24-hour jump in total cases. Maharashtra, West Bengal, Karnataka, Chhattisgarh and Delhi reported the highest number of deaths in the same period. Many European countries and the United States are facing a fresh surge in infections. Europe reported 2.46 lakh new cases in the last 24 hours. Several European countries, including France and Germany, have tightened COVID-19 restrictions amid surging infections. The United States also reported more than 80,000 new cases and close to 1,000 deaths. Globally, 44 million people are infected with COVID-19, out of which 32 million people have recovered. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV. The Oxford University AstraZeneca vaccine Covishield is likely to be ready by December. Serum Institute of India CEO Adar Poonawalla has said that the first batch of 100 million doses of Covishield may be available by early 2021. However, he added that it would depend on approvals by the DCGI and the trials being conducted in the UK. The vaccine is also undergoing combined phase 2 and phase 3 trials in India. In another development, Russian President Vladimir Putin on Thursday said that the country's COVID-19 vaccine, Sputnik V, is effective and it hopes to start mass vaccinations by the end of the year. Dr. Reddy's Laboratories is hopeful that phase 3 trials of Russia's Sputnik V vaccine will be completed in India between March and May. The pandemic situation in Europe continues to worsen as both confirmed cases and the number of deaths are rising sharply, forcing many countries to reimpose stricter restrictions. France is reimposing national lockdown starting Friday to slow the spread of coronavirus. Under the new measures, only essential services, including travel for work to a medical appointment, for assistance, among others, will be permitted. Public gatherings are banned, while cultural ceremonies and conferences remain suspended. These measures will be applied nationwide until December. France had 36,437 new COVID-19 infections on Wednesday, raising its total tally to over 1.23 million. Germany added a record single-day spike of 14,964 new infections in just the past 24 hours. The country is reimposing a partial lockdown starting 2nd November. Restrictions include banning public gatherings over 10 people and non-essential personal trips. Pubs and clubs have been ordered to shut, with dining services in public restaurants also restricted. Other European countries, including Britain, Spain, Italy, Poland, Denmark, and also Belgium, are reimposing curfews and partial lockdowns due to a second wave of COVID-19 infections. Worldwide, COVID-19 cases have surpassed 44.88 million, with the death toll exceeding 1.18 million. Over 32.75 million people have recovered from the disease worldwide so far. The Joint Committee on the Personal Data Protection Bill 2019 held its meeting on Thursday. The committee is eliciting the views of various stakeholders on the bill. Oral evidence by the representatives of Paytm and Google was on the agenda. The Personal Data Protection Bill 2019 intends to regulate the processing or usage of individuals' data by the state and private entities. The Parliamentary Committee on External Affairs also held its meeting on Thursday. On the agenda was recording oral evidence of representatives from various ministries. These included the Ministries of External Affairs, Home Affairs, Finance, Electronics and Information Technology, as well as Law and Justice on India and international law. The committee will examine, among other things, issues relating to extradition treaties with foreign countries, asylum, international cybersecurity, and financial crimes. And in some global news now, 2 people were killed and a woman beheaded in a terrorist attack at a church in the French city of Nice on Thursday. Several other people were also injured in the incident. French President Emmanuel Macron visited the site of a knife attack and took stock of the situation. Macron met Nice Mayor Christian Estrosi and spoke to security forces present at the scene. Prime Minister Jean Castex said that France has raised the security alert for the French territory to the highest level following the knife attack. He also told French National Assembly that the government's response to the attack would be firm and implacable. The suspected knife attacker was shot by the police while being detained. The attacker and the injured were rushed to the nearest hospital. The knife attack comes while France is still reeling from the beheading of a teacher earlier this month. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has condemned the terrorist attacks in France. He expressed his condolences to the families of the victims as well as the people of France. The Prime Minister reiterated that India stands with France in this fight against terrorism. Former Gujarat Chief Minister Keshubhai Patel passed away in Ahmedabad on Thursday after prolonged illness. He was 92 years old. The President, Vice President and the Prime Minister have expressed condolences over his demise. In his condolence message, President Ramnath Kovind said, with the demise of Keshubhai Patel, the nation has lost a stalwart leader. He added, Keshubhai's dogged determination for social service and commitment to Indian ethos will remain exemplary for all. Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu also condoled the death of Keshubhai Patel, saying he always championed the cause of farmers and took keen interest in bringing agricultural reforms. The Vice President also recalled that farmers and rural India held a very special place in his heart. In a series of tweets, Prime Minister Narendra Modi said he is deeply pained and saddened by Keshubhai Patel's death. The Prime Minister said Keshubhai was an outstanding leader who cared for every section of the society. He mentored and groomed many younger Karyakartas, including me. That's what the Prime Minister tweeted.
केशुभाई ने अपनी योजनाओं में, अपने फैसलों में किसानों के हितों को सर्वोच्च प्राथमिकता दी। गांव, गरीब, किसान के जीवन को आसान बनाने के लिए उन्होंने जो काम किया, राष्ट्रभक्ति और जनभक्ति के जिन आदर्शों को लेकर वो जीवन भर चले, वो पीढ़ियों को प्रेरित करती रहेगी। केशुभाई गुजरात के रंग रंग और रग रग से परिचित थे।
Union Home Minister Amit Shah also expressed grief and sorrow over the demise of Keshubhai Patel. Keshubhai Patel was Gujarat's Chief Minister in 1995 and then again during 1998 to 2001. He was also a member of the State Legislative Assembly 6 times. President Ramnath Kovind has greeted people on the eve of Milad-un-Nabi, which is celebrated to mark the birthday of Prophet Muhammad. In his message, President Kovind said, Prophet Muhammad gave the message of love and brotherhood and led the world to the path of humanity. The President asked everyone to work for the well-being of society, peace and harmony in the country. Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu also greeted the nation. In his message, the Vice President said, the Holy Prophet showed humanity the righteous path of compassion and universal brotherhood. He urged people to celebrate Milad-un-Nabi in a modest way due to the COVID-19 pandemic by strictly adhering to the COVID-19 health and hygiene protocols. So that's it from us in this bulletin. But before we leave, We once again appeal to all our viewers to stay safe from the COVID-19 pandemic. Always wear face masks, wash hands and face regularly, and maintain physical distancing while stepping outside. Remember, these simple precautions are all that it takes to defeat the pandemic. Good night and thanks for watching.
Thank you.